Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering from ELD's Time Ball Games. Kevin on Blue-Black Scam. I'm actually facing him here with Cephalid Breakfast. Finals of a Wednesday night Legacy, a small turnout, so I hopped on in. Our crowds will be growing now that we are past the holiday season. And a standard opening here for Scam. Grief. Trying to poke a hole here. Taking the Cephalid. Turn 3 win with that Urza's Saga. I'm going to have to dig to try and find something else. Urza's Saga, uncounterable in its ability to grab Shuka. Well, at least uncounterable by counter spells. There are plenty of ways of interacting with it. Wasteland, most notably. Bouncing it with Teferi can be pretty brutal. Arch of Otherworldly Light. I mean, there's lots of ways of interacting, but Force of Wills, not going to do you any good versus Urza's Saga. Ponder. Digging continues. A Teferi looming. Ready to hop in and make this a very one-sided game. Setting me back. A mana there with Wasteland. Killing the Saga, also delaying this Teferi. Here we go. Looks like it's time to jam. You're one of those cards that if it resolves, you're just so far ahead, and if they force a will it, you know, card did its job. I think there might be some fighting over this. Yeah, force a will. Forcing back. Very sticks, ticks up. There'll be a card to cash out later from that. Really does feel like you're super far ahead when you do force through a Teferi. You'll be able to get a card back out of him while also having him on board. When you draw that second card, I feel like the game's actually just over at that point. Kind of an ultimate. You get 2 cards out of him, you're just so far ahead. Now, Cabal Therapy snipes a Murktide out of hand, leaving just Brazen Borrower and Grief. Either of those super exciting when you're only sitting on 2 lands. Under. Digs and keeps, which is generally not a great sign. Well, it's just the 3rd land. Mystic Sanctuary. This is an interesting card. I don't know if it's... I don't even know how to talk about the card. It is very, very powerful. I don't really like thinking about things in terms of correct or not with the list. I do think about it in terms of trade-offs, even with things that I feel are incredibly important to the deck. I think some things are harder to defend. Like, I'm on 4 Force of Wills. I'm on 4 Nomad, 4 Cephalids for sure. You know, at a certain point, it's like you really need a strong reason to not be running a playset of the card. But when we're talking about a card like Mystic Sanctuary as a one of, you know, there are times when it's good, there are times when it's bad. Do you want to expose yourself to that downside? Is it worth it? We see a Hymn to Torok. That Cephalid safely out of hand. Of course, the Grief on Kevin's side of the board is at a pretty straightforward line. You want to have Cephalid ripped out of your hand, and it's not a dangerous look on the other side by any stretch. Brainstorm in response to this Hymn to Torok. Cephalid can clear during the upkeep. Actually, I have a ton of mana here. It's very doable. You can just pay 3 mana, have Cephalid target itself with its ability. It's going to be, yeah, exactly what happens here during the upkeep. Actually get a free Narcomoeba out of it. Nice. Oh, and rip the Nomad off the top. Absolutely brutal. Exactly how you draw it up right there. A little extra value play. Leading immediately to the W up a game going into game number 2 here. Leading off with Grief. Pitching him this time. Not looking great here. Saga at least can find half of the combo. Still going to need Cephalid and a bit more help. Orim's Chant can do a lot of work in protecting from any type of graveyard hate, post-board, things like surgical extraction. Be a real problem. For that, we have a Cabal Therapy. Hitting a Force of Will. Animated Grief. Setting a clock. Of course, getting 2 cards out of the hand. Argument for the way that I've got the deck built. Just a lot of redundancy. Even here, there's just like so many live draws going in. Cycling step through. All right, so the combo's in hand with a chant to go in front of it. Kevin's got a turn here, but he does have Brainstorm. Surgical can be stopped by the Orim's Chant. Kevin really needs exactly Grief. Yeah, that'll do it. That's it right there. So Grief hits the Cephalid, and now Surgical will actually be able to hit the Cephalid. Just a brutal turn of events. That is a wrap. Nice. It's going to be super tough to win from here. No Cephalids left. Just a couple of turns. Murktide piles on. This is pretty much over right here. Oh, cute. Another Tundra. So be able to chant during the upkeep. Stave off the inevitable here. There is no additional Cephalid effect. The Nomads and Shuko side of the combo does have redundancy in terms of different cards that'll work. If your opponent has a Pithing Needle or a Null Rod or whatever, it can't shut down the whole combo because you have 2 different named cards. Cephalid has nothing else quite like it in the game. So he's taken out. You are on to a different plan. Maybe Construct beatdowns. Could be Shukos on Narcomoebas. Is, you know, a lot of very ugly ways to try and win if it does come to that. But this deck's really all about plan A. Kick things off. I will say versus Scam, not having to mulligan constantly, a big benefit to the way this list is configured. Just the amount of redundancy, the strength of cantrips. You're going to be able to fire off a Brainstorm Ponder before things really have to get too serious. Goes coming down. Hard for Scam to punish this. Obviously, versus decks that run cards like Prismatic Ending, you're going to be much more concerned about getting the artifact down. Probably the worst thing Scam would be able to do is potentially have a guarantee that their Null Rod interacts with you. Building a mana base here. Nomads. This is going to be, I actually recall this line thinking about it. This does turn his Bowmasters on. However, I did have Cabal Therapy in hand, so my thought process was being able to, on the following turn, Cabal Therapy and flash it back, making it worth potentially risking handing a little bit of value over to the Bowmasters. Nomads is a redundant combo piece anyways with the Shuko in play. And if you do get to double flashback, I mean, there's very, very little way your opponent could have that's going to withstand a double therapy before you actually go for the win, especially if you have a chant as well. Step through, finds the Cephalid. Evan brainstorming, so this is during the end step. He knows that he's facing a potentially lethal untap here. Tap. Fetching. Looks like he's got a dress down in hand. All therapy kicks things off. So much in paper magic that you can pick up on. Play a card like Cabal Therapy as your opponent tries to assess the situation. Very often they're going to give away Nation. Here, rest down, 2 mana open. Brazen Borrower as well. There's the chant. Jams. Daze counters it. He is defenseless here. Chant is going through. There's the Cephalid, and that is a wrap. Just like you draw it up. That was using every piece of the Buffalo there. Daze, the last card in hand, protecting the combo from Dress Down. Usually a very dangerous card versus Breakfast. Be thrown out to disrupt the combo and replace itself. But there, just not enough time for him to reestablish any control of the game, and Breakfast takes down another event.